So again, it's having that clear communication. You have that central point of what it is that you're trying to do with them, so then they don't feel that frustration or they don't feel confused the moment that you change your mind or change the plan. Hey there, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Now, my goals at this video is to walk you through what are the different ways so you can communicate effectively with your virtual assistant. Now, if this is your first time on my channel, my name is Lai Lacaba. I've been working from home since I was 15 years old and now run my own executive assistant outsourcing agency here in the Philippines. And I post videos every Sunday and Thursday on how to work from home and how to have a business from home. So make sure to hit the subscribe button right there so you don't miss any of my videos. Now, when it comes to communicating with your virtual assistant, it is a little bit trickier than if you were working with someone in person. When you are just chatting or emailing with someone, some of the tone and intention of your communication might get lost in it. So you really need to make sure that you are able to set up correct communication systems, and as the boss, as the employer, you're setting up all of these ways where there's going to be a clear communication between the two of you. I've said this in other videos before, but one of the fastest ways that a work relationship fails when it comes to working online with someone is just miscommunication. So these are the different systems that I have found in the last 10 years working from home that really works when it comes to working with someone online. Now, the first one is to just set the tone or set the culture. As the boss, you are the one in charge to making sure that your employee or your virtual assistant feels that there is just that open communication, that you're not closed off, that they can communicate with you as needed. You are the one responsible for helping them feel that they can communicate with you whenever there's a bottleneck or if they did something wrong, because as the boss, of course, you do want to know that so things can keep running, can keep going. So that's why telling your employee or your virtual assistant right off the bat, like during the interview or as they're getting onboarded, of like, hey, this is the communication style that I have. I'm very open to suggestions or questions. So setting that tone, again, that culture of the open communication is the first thing you have to do right off the bat. Next is when you're communicating, try to always be clear and concise. The thing that I always advise a lot of different clients that we've had is try to have a central point when you're talking, when you're trying to give them instructions, when you're trying to give them, this is what you should do. You should have a central point that you always go back to. You can give different examples and different ways to do it, but there's a specific outcome that you want to see. The clearer you are on the outcome that you want to see, the faster things can get done. But of course, it's not going to be always perfect. Sometimes you kind of just are winging it and trying to see what could work for you. So you're just kind of finding things, but you need to communicate that with your assistant of like, hey, I'm still trying to figure this out, so I hope you don't get frustrated if I change my mind a bajillion times. So again, it's having that clear communication. You have that central point of what it is that you're trying to do with them, so then they don't feel that frustration or they don't feel confused the moment that you change your mind or change the plan. Next is to clarify and double check or even triple check. So one of the things that I teach a lot of our assistants in 2XU is to double check and triple check. Whenever you're communicating something with someone, try to clarify if everything is understandable, if they understood what it is that you're trying to put across. So it's either asking them like, hey, can you repeat back what you heard? Can you repeat back what you understand? Or is it clear what the next action steps are? That way you guys have that, again, that back and forth of making sure that when you say, hey, can you make sure that you do ABC, they don't misunderstand that as doing, hey, can you do B, C, and A? So having that back and forth of checking like, hey, was this clear to you? Are there any questions that I can answer for you so you can keep moving this forward? So it's as easy as that of just asking back for clarity and also being clear yourself, again, having that central point. So then you guys don't go round and around in circles without an actual outcome that you're moving towards. Next is don't be afraid to experiment with using different channels of communicating. Don't just stick to just chat or email, maybe hop on video calls from time to time or voice calls from time to time so you guys learn how to talk to each other beyond just the text. There are multiple ways that you can do this with just doing check-ins or hopping on a call with them as you're giving them instructions. This also helps build their relationship rather than just having, kind of like a faceless bot that you're talking to. When you talk to them in video or voice, that makes it more real that, okay, this is a person that I'm talking to, a human being, and again, builds that connection between you and your virtual assistant. Next is, as much as possible, if you're going to be setting up meetings with them or one-on-ones, all of of a sudden try to give them a heads up. This is more just of a courtesy, so then you are showing what it is that you expect for them if they're going to talk to you. Again, you set the tone as the boss, as the manager, as the employer. What are the standards of communication? What are the standards of being in this company? So when you set up a time of like, hey, is it okay if I schedule a quick little meeting with you this afternoon, about 15 minutes to talk about this and this? You are giving that clarity of what to expect rather than having them think of like, okay, what is this meeting going to be about? How long is it going to be? Am I in trouble? So you're giving them that heads up of what it is to, again, expect, what they can think about before they start on the meeting with you. And they will do the same thing when it comes to them needing to talk to you. Of, hey boss, I need to talk to you about this, this, and this. Are you free tomorrow at this time? So you're giving them, again, that standard of how you expect them to communicate with you. That's why it's important to also give them a heads up on, again, what the meeting is going to be about, how long it's going to be, and when you expect them to show up for it. Next is to always make sure that you match your words with action. It's always one of the fastest ways to build trust, and it's the same thing for you. If your virtual assistant says that they're going to finish all of the emails by 10 o'clock and they do finish it by 10 o'clock, you're going to more likely trust that they're going to do that over and over again. However, if you are the one who's inconsistent, it's going to drive your assistant nuts. Believe me, I've seen it happen too many times where the boss will say, hey, I'll get this done, but actually don't, and actually didn't communicate that. Then it's a little bit harder for the assistant to keep moving forward. Yes, it's okay for you to sometimes things fall through the cracks, or you were just too busy, or things popped up. But it's important that you still communicate whenever you can't perform an action that you set already with your assistant. So again, it goes back to communicating, to making sure that there's that clarity between the two of you, and again, matching your actions to your words. Next is to just care about them, care about your employee, care about the person that you are working with. When you show a little bit of that empathy of just literally checking in on them of like, hey, how are you? Anything that I can help you with? When you do that, again, you're building that relationship to lessen the miscommunication so they can trust you as a boss that as they're getting work done, you're taking care of them. You're making sure that they have what they need in order to succeed. So caring about them, even just doing a check-in is going to have such a lasting impression of making sure that you guys work better the long term. Plus, you get to know about the person who's working with you 40 hours a week. So that is also an important thing to build upon. Next is to always wrap talks or meetings with action steps. So earlier when I talked about double and triple checking when you're communicating with someone, at the end of meetings or at the end of discussions, always go back to, okay, now that we've talked about this, what are we doing differently, or what are we doing next? When you do this, there's that clarity of what are the next expectations, basically putting a point to what the discussion was, to move something forward, to twist things, to move to another direction, depending on what the talk is about, and having a purpose basically of why you guys needed to talk in the first place. So always try to wrap up communication or meetings with action steps and to-dos if there are any. Next is be open to feedback. One of the books that I always recommend here on my channel is the book 1 Minute Manager by Ken Blanchard, where it teaches you how to give feedback. Now, I don't recommend this just for managers. I actually also have our assistants read this because then they're able to communicate better with their client and be able to give effective feedback that actually works because they're able to communicate in a way that there is going to be some change afterwards if there's that good back and forth. Being a boss who's open to feedback, being open to that communication of like, hey, I think we should change this, or hey, I suggest that we try this, makes it easier for your employees to feel like they can talk to you, that they can give you feedback on how else they think that the company can grow, because then that shows that they're very dedicated, it shows that they're invested in your company, and the more that you're open to it, the more that they look for other ways to help you grow your business. And lastly, and this is the biggest thing that you can do to have better communication with your virtual assistant, is just communicate regularly. Have windows of time where you guys do check in on each other. So for example, inside of 2XU, we have 3 modes of basically being able to check in with our assistants and our clients. So the first one is a daily report. This is a report that the assistants give us at the end of the day, telling us, okay, these are the things that I was able to get done, and these are the things I'm doing tomorrow. This is how I also generally feel from the rate of 1 to 10. So then it's a quick way for me not to need to hop on a call with someone or even chat them, because this is already an expected regular way of communicating that I can just check in on and see how they're doing. The second mode that we communicate with our assistants regularly is we set up weekly meetings with them and the client to set the agenda for the rest of the week. Doing this makes sure that they're in sync of what needs to get done, and also making sure that they know, like, hey, this was already done, what should we do next? And the third way that we do it is that we have monthly coaching calls with the assistant. Now, this is different from the daily report, from the weekly report. This is an actual coaching call on what else they can do better the next month, considering the wins or the things that they want to improve from the last month. So these are the regular ways that the assistants can know to expect when it comes to working with us. So having some sort of way, there is a sync, a regular way that they know, like, hey, I can bring this up here, gives them more of the freedom to be able to actually communicate with you as well without feeling that nervousness of like, hey, am I bugging my boss by doing this? Now, if you guys liked and enjoyed this video, of course, make sure to hit the thumbs up button right there and comment below what are different ways that you've been able to communicate really well with your virtual assistant. And if you still haven't yet, make sure to hit subscribe button right there so you don't miss any of my videos every Sunday and Thursday on how to work from home and how to have a business from home, which you guys can check out the 2 videos right here and the latest video right here. I hope you guys have an awesome day. Remember that small steps matters, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!